What would make over 1 billion people refuse to upgrade their computers and even push some to return to an operating system that officially died years ago? That's exactly what's happening with Windows 11 right now. Users aren't just avoiding the upgrade. Some are actively reverting to Windows 7, a system that stopped receiving security updates years ago. This isn't a conspiracy theory or a loud minority on forums. It's a measurable global shift that even major PC manufacturers and usage statistics are now quietly confirming. In this video, you'll see what Microsoft got so catastrophically wrong with Windows 11, why adoption has stalled and even reversed, and what it means for your next upgrade decision, whether you stay, switch, or walk away from Windows entirely. Microsoft positioned Windows 11 as the future of computing when it launched in October 2021. The company promised a reimagined interface, enhanced security through hardware-based protection, and seamless integration with cloud services. At the center of Microsoft's security strategy was a non-negotiable requirement. Every Windows 11 device must include a Trusted Platform Module 2.0 or TPM 2.0 chip. This hardware security component was designed to protect encryption keys, credentials, and other sensitive data at the hardware level, making Windows 11 theoretically more resistant to sophisticated attacks. Microsoft also introduced stricter CPU requirements, limiting Windows 11 to processors released in approximately the last 4 years. The official narrative was clear. These requirements were essential for delivering a secure, modern operating system that could handle emerging threats and support advanced features like Windows Hello biometric authentication and BitLocker encryption. The company framed this as a necessary evolution, arguing that older hardware simply couldn't provide adequate protection in an increasingly hostile digital landscape. But here's what security researchers and IT professionals discovered when they examined these requirements more closely. The TPM 2.0 mandate wasn't primarily about security. It was about control and planned obsolescence. Dell COO Jeffrey Clark revealed during that November 2025 earnings call that approximately 500 million PCs in the global market are fully capable of running Windows 11, but have deliberately not been upgraded. Another 500 million machines, many only 4 years old, were declared incompatible solely because they lacked the required hardware specifications. Independent testing demonstrated that Windows 11 runs perfectly well on hardware that fails Microsoft's artificial compatibility check. In fact, Microsoft itself published documentation explaining how to bypass the TPM 2.0 requirement for testing purposes, acknowledging that the operating system's core functionality doesn't actually depend on this hardware. The real-world impact became clear when one IT director at a manufacturing company with 3,000 employees conducted extensive pilot testing. They deployed Windows 11 to 200 users and measured the results. Application launch times increased 18%, CAD software performance degraded measurably, and user complaints skyrocketed by 340% during the pilot period. The forced hardware requirements weren't making devices more secure, they were making them slower and forcing companies to spend millions on unnecessary hardware upgrades for machines that work perfectly fine. You probably think this is just about hardware compatibility frustration, but that's only the surface. The deeper issue is what happened after users actually upgraded. Throughout 2025, Windows 11 became notorious for catastrophic update failures and forced feature changes that broke established workflows. Windows latest documented over 20 major update problems in 2025 alone. The March 2025 Patch Tuesday update got stuck at various installation percentages 6%, 20%, 38%, and trapped users in an endless install, fail, revert, and try again boot loop that wasn't resolved until the April optional update. The May 2025 update caused File Explorer toolbar buttons to become completely unresponsive, freezing both mouse and keyboard inputs. In August, the Task Manager began spawning multiple hidden background instances that degraded performance, especially on lower-end hardware. Microsoft acknowledged video playback jitter issues affecting digital TV and DVD applications, traced back to the August optional update, but left unresolved for months. These weren't minor inconveniences, these were mandatory security updates users couldn't refuse that fundamentally broke basic operating system functionality. And Microsoft's response strategy, called continuous innovation, made everything worse by allowing the company to force new features onto users every single month, tied to those same mandatory security updates. Users never got a stable baseline. The interface kept changing. Features appeared and disappeared based on Microsoft's controlled feature rollout system, making it literally impossible to predict what your computer would look like after the next update. Government regulators and privacy organizations took notice, particularly regarding one feature that crystallized everything wrong with Windows 11's approach: Recall. Initially unveiled in May 2024, Recall was designed to take screenshots of your entire screen every few seconds, process them with AI, and store a searchable history of everything you've done on your computer. Microsoft marketed it as a productivity breakthrough, a photographic memory for your PC. Security experts immediately condemned it as a privacy catastrophe. The UK's Information Commissioner's Office and privacy advocates across Europe raised alarms about GDPR compliance, particularly regarding data minimization, principles, and user consent. Security researcher Michael Bargary demonstrated how the recall database could be weaponized through prompt injection attacks and data exfiltration techniques, potentially allowing attackers to manipulate the AI system and extract sensitive information, including financial details. Privacy defenders highlighted an especially dangerous scenario. Nothing in Recall's design would prevent it from capturing disappearing messages in privacy-focused applications like Signal, or from storing sensitive information typed into password managers before encryption could protect it. The feature was particularly alarming in domestic violence situations, where an abuser with even momentary access to a device could reconstruct a victim's entire digital history, including safe house addresses, legal consultations, and confidential communications with support organizations. Following massive backlash, Microsoft initially suspended Recall, then announced changes, encryption, for the database, biometric authentication requirements through Windows Hello, and making it opt-in rather than default enabled. But the fundamental problem remained constant. Screenshot capture creates a permanent record of your activity that becomes a single point of catastrophic failure if your device is ever compromised. Imagine you're a therapist who uses your Windows 11 laptop for telehealth sessions. Recall captures every session note you type, every patient name on your screen, every diagnosis discussed. That data is now sitting in a local database on your device. If your laptop is stolen, or if malware gains access, or if your device is imaged for technical support, years of confidential patient information protected under HIPAA could be exposed in minutes. Consider a journalist working with confidential sources in a country with restrictive press laws. They use encrypted messaging applications specifically to protect source identities, but Recall takes screenshots before that. Encryption happens capturing names, locations, and sensitive details in plain text, stored in a searchable database tied only to a Windows Hello pin or biometric lock. If border security demands access to the device, or if spyware compromises the system, sources who trusted that journalists' operational security could face imprisonment or worse. Think about someone escaping an abusive relationship. They've carefully hidden their new location, changed their contact information, and communicated with legal advocates about custody arrangements. Recall captures screenshots of every housing application, every message to their attorney, every search for domestic violence resources. If their abuser gains physical access to the device for even a few minutes, perhaps during a custody exchange, Recall's searchable timeline could reveal everything: the address of the new apartment, the name of the lawyer, the location of the shelter they stayed at. These aren't paranoid fantasies. These are the exact risk profiles that security researchers and privacy organizations identified as inevitable consequences of storing comprehensive screen history on local devices. Microsoft did respond to the Recall controversy by adding encryption and biometric requirements, but subsequent security testing revealed these protections were insufficient. While the Recall database is now encrypted with BitLocker and requires Windows Hello authentication to access, security researchers pointed out that BitLocker encryption is only active when the device is powered off. When the computer is running and the user is logged in, which is exactly when Recall is capturing screenshots, the database is accessible to any process running with sufficient privileges, including malware. The biometric requirement sounds secure, but Windows Hello has a fallback option, a simple PIN. That means your entire digital history, every password you've typed, every confidential document you've viewed is ultimately protected by something as weak as a 4-digit number that can be shoulder-surfed or guessed through repeated attempts. Independent tests demonstrated that Recall's filtering system, designed to avoid capturing sensitive information like passwords and credit card numbers, fails regularly. Type a fake credit card number into a text document, and Recall captures it. Enter test credentials on a login screen, and they appear in the searchable timeline. The fundamental architecture continuous screenshot capture with local storage creates a vulnerability that no amount of encryption can fully mitigate when the device is in active use. And remember, this feature is being pushed through continuous innovation, meaning it can be updated or modified at any time through mandatory monthly security updates that users cannot refuse. If you want to take back control, here's what you can actually do right now. First, check if Recall is enabled on your device. Navigate to Settings, then Privacy and Security, then Recall and Snapshots, and ensure the toggle is set to off. Recall is currently opt-in, but given Microsoft's history of changing feature defaults through updates, verify this setting monthly. Second, minimize telemetry collection that feeds data back to Microsoft. Go to Settings, select Privacy and Security, then Diagnostics and Feedback, and change your diagnostic data setting to Required Only. This is the minimum allowed level, though Microsoft still collects substantial information even at this setting. Third, disable the continuous innovation feature rollout system that allows Microsoft to change your interface without warning. Open Windows PowerShell as administrator and execute this group policy change. gpedit.msc, navigate to computer configuration, then administrative templates, then Windows components, then data collection and preview builds, and enable toggle user control over insider builds. This prevents automatic feature deployments outside major updates. Fourth, if you're still on Windows 10 and don't want to upgrade, understand your options. Windows 10 support officially ended October 14, 2025, but Microsoft is offering extended security updates for $30 per device for one additional year through October 2026. That gives you time to evaluate whether Windows 11 improvements justify the migration or whether alternative operating systems better serve your needs. Finally, if you're on compatible hardware but experiencing the performance degradation issues documented by enterprise IT teams, you have a clear path. Staying on Windows 10 with extended security updates is a legitimate choice that 500 million other users have already made. The facts are clear, Windows 11's growth has collapsed, users are refusing to upgrade, and Microsoft's own mandatory update strategy has turned its operating system into something millions no longer trust. Whether you're on Windows 10 weighing your options, or already on Windows 11 wondering why your computer feels less like yours every month, the choice you make now matters. If you found this investigation valuable, hit the like button. It helps more people find this before they make an irreversible upgrade decision. Share this with anyone still on Windows 10 who's being pressured to switch, and subscribe, because in the next video, we're exposing another tech giant's privacy disaster that's been hiding in plain sight on millions of devices. The companies building these systems are counting on you not paying attention. Don't let them win.